one of the best to ever do it. And I think we've, in the last couple of years, and again, no shade to Brock Lesnar, no shade to Goldberg, we've kind of gotten into these, what did we call it? We called it, whose thing is the biggest, basically. So it's just a showcase of F5s and German suplexes and Suplex City and Claymore kicks. And again, it's nice to see a main event match for a title where people are really just getting after it. Nobody's having to carry anybody, and it's just two people at the peak in their prime going after it and just delivering one of the best matches in WWE history. It's really right up there.
Uh-huh. That's one of my personal favorites. Like, CM Punk at the time was one of my favorites, so I loved basically anything he did, anything he was associated with, and like that run he had in 2012 or from late 2011, like early 2013 with the WWE title, that long reign. I thought it was great. I mean, I say nowadays I'm not a big fan of lengthy title reigns. I mean, well, no, I like lengthy title reigns, just so it doesn't devalue the championship by having the belt change hands, like just several dozen times in like a short span.
Uh-huh.
But what I mean by real lengthy ones is like the year-long reigns and stuff like that, just because it's really hard to pull it off. Like, I think Punk's was perfect because he won the championship as like a face, and then like he had it all the way to like July when they did like, that Raw 1000, and then they had The Rock come in and he GTS The Rock and he turned heel. It's like I think like halfway through at that point, to keep it from going stale, you kind of have to either turn him heel or just do something completely drastic just to keep it fresh, which I think they did with him. So, yeah, to be able to pull something off like that is like very difficult. So, but Punk did. One of the best title reigns really ever, because I mean, yeah, you had like, you had 8-year title reigns, 4-year title reigns back in the day. Not to take away from those, because, that was great for those time periods, but to be able to do what he did, especially like with like that modern schedule where they're on the road for like that many days out of the year, I mean, I don't know, it's just very remarkable.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, this is when social media was starting to take off. You had an anonymous Raw general manager who was emailing or texting in. You had Michael Cole referencing several times from the desk that he was checking his tweets. To be able to put somebody on and have them as a champ for so long, when you've got people with just access to media and access to voicing their opinions, to keep somebody fresh and popular and the crowd popping every single time for somebody for that length of time, it's hard to do. I mean, look at what we've got right now. People were, complaining about Brock Lesnar. You've got Bayley holding onto a title for 18 years.
Even Becky Lynch
over on SmackDown. You've got Asuka, and as soon as she that streak got snapped, she started losing left and right. So it's really difficult to do, and I think that's really one of the last times in recent memory where you've had such a long title reign that they did so well. So yeah, all hats off to creative and everything that they were doing back then, because they kept it fresh.
Yeah, so I give them credit for that. So this program would all begin on it's actually the June 20th, 2011 edition of Raw, where the main event of the night would be CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, and Alberto Del Rio in a triple threat Falls Count Anywhere match to become the number one contender to face John Cena for the WWE title. And following the match, Punk would grab a microphone and say that his contract with World Wrestling Entertainment would expire at midnight on July 17th, and that he was planning on walking out of the company as WWE champion. Then the next week, during the Raw Roulette show on June 27th, John Cena would face R-Truth in a tables match where R-Truth would actually pick up the win against Cena following outside interference from Punk. Following that, Punk would grab a microphone and cut one of the most infamous promos, maybe history, the pipe bomb, it would be dubbed, which I actually have here, and I'm going to read in full length. This ought to be good. John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this, because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I don't hate you, John. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you a hell of a lot more than I like most people in the back. I hate this idea that you're the best, because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world. There's one thing you're better at than I am, and that's kissing Vince McMahon's ass. You're as good at kissing Vince McMahon's ass as Hulk Hogan was. I don't know if you're as good as Dwayne, though. He's a pretty good ass kisser. Always was and still is. Whoops, I'm breaking the fourth wall. I am the best wrestler in the world. I've been the best ever since day one when I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since the day because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? Brock Lesnar, and he split just like I'm splitting. But the biggest difference between me and Brock is I'm going to leave with the WWE Championship. I grabbed so many of Vincent K. McMahon's brass rings that it's finally dawned on me that they're just that. They're completely imaginary. The only thing that's real is me, and the fact that day in and day out for almost 6 years, I have proved to everybody in the world that I'm the best on this microphone, in that ring, even on commentary. Nobody can touch me. And yet, no matter how many times I prove it, I'm not on your lovely collector cups. I'm not on the cover of the program. I'm barely promoted. I don't get to be in movies. I'm certainly not any crappy show on the USA Network. I'm not on the poster of WrestleMania. I'm not in the signature that's produced at the start of the show. I'm not on Conan O'Brien. I'm not on Jimmy Fallon. But the fact of the matter is, I should be. And trust me, this isn't sour grapes. But the fact that Dwayne is in the main event at WrestleMania next year and I'm not makes me sick. Oh, hey, let me get something straight. Those of you who are cheering me right now, you are just as big a part of me leaving as anything else, because you're the ones who are sipping out of those collector's cups right now. You're the ones that are buying those programs that my face isn't on the cover of. And then at 5 a.m. in the morning, you try to shove it in my face so you can get an autograph and try to sell it on eBay because you're too lazy to go get a real job. I'm leaving with the WWE Championship on July 17th, and hell, who knows, maybe I'll go defend it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe I'll go back to Ring of Honor. Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? The reason I'm leaving is you people, because after I'm gone, you're still going to pour your money into this company, and I'm just a spoke on the wheel. The wheel is going to keep turning, and I understand that. Vince McMahon is going to make money despite himself. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. You want to know why he's not a billionaire? Because he surrounds himself with glad-handed, nonsensical, douchebag yes-men like John Laurinaitis, who's going to tell him everything he wants to hear, and I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead, but the fact is, it's going to be taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon, all right? We do this whole anti-bullying campaign, and from there, the microphone would be cut, actually. It'd be cut off, and the shoot would end from there. This would later be described as a work shoot, where Punk was supposed to go out there and air his grievances in front of the live audience and the viewers watching, but what he was saying was him ranting about his frustrations with the company. So the idea was for him to go out there, and air his grievances and, just talk with his chest, however you want to phrase it. But what he said was like his feelings.
I don't know how they didn't cut the mic
sooner
beforehand. I don't know what's real and what's not real. I don't think we'll ever know what he was supposed to say and what was allowed to say. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I think now's as good a time as any is to share with the listeners kind of where I was in 2011. Like we were talking about, Cam, I'm a little bit older than you. I'm going to be 32. So when all this was going on in 2011, I was 22 years old. My priorities weren't on wrestling. I was learning who I was and exploring and doing a whole bunch of different things in my life. And wrestling had kind of taken a back seat. And, I know the pipe bomb because since coming back on, I fancy myself a little bit of a wrestling historian. But just even watching just the build-up, just in the pay-per-view, that little 5-minute just recap of this is how we got to where we're going. My goodness, how much did I miss of CM Punk just being is he the best person on the microphone ever? He might be.
He's one of them.
So just kudos to whoever wrote that. I'm surprised half of that got on the air, and man, what a treat it is to be able to go back and visit that. Just that's how you sell a match. That's how you cut a promo. That's how you sell a match. And the pipe bomb is the pipe bomb. You can say it to any wrestling fan, casual or not, and they know what you're talking about. So, it gives me chills just hearing it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that I found that bit this week when collecting the research and getting all the notes together for the show. So I was glad I came across that and was able to include that in there, because I thought, that just since we're talking about everything, of course I could have just said Punk dropped the pipe bomb and just kept it moving, but I thought it'd be better if I just straight up just went into detail and just read it off, just to add more to it. So as a result of this, Punk and kayfabe would receive a suspension and would be stripped of his title match against Cena at the upcoming pay-per-view. But Cena would confront Vince about this and threaten to walk out on him if Punk wasn't reinstated. Vince would go against doing this initially, but then he'd give in and go along with it. However, he'd add a stipulation to this match as well, where, of course, in this Punk and Cena match, if John were to lose the WWE title to Punk, he would be fired. Then the next week on Raw, there would be the contract signing segment with CM Punk and Vince, where Vince would try to negotiate with Punk to sign him to a new contract. Punk during this would serve Vince several different demands, including the star in his own film CM Punk the Movie, and the return of the WWE ice cream bars, and much more. But he'd also demand an apology from Vince as well, which I guess Vince eventually gave to him. But while this was going on, Cena would interrupt and tell Punk that he was the biggest hypocrite of them all. Punk would go on to say, and he'd go on to drop the line that Cena had become a dynasty. He's no longer the underdog. He's become what he hates. He's become the New York Yankees. This would result in Cena punching him in the face, and Punk would storm off, tear up the contract, and negotiations would end there. So that's the backstory for the top feud heading into this night. But let's talk about another rivalry at this time, this one being the World Heavyweight Championship program between the champion at the time, Randy Orton, and Christian. So, I'll let you go.
Let me go back 1 second here, because I wrote down, it's the first note that I wrote for the CM Punk John Cena match, and it says, imagine hitting someone in the face for calling that person the New York Yankees. That's a compliment. I guess not if you're from West Newbury, Massachusetts, but I laughed out loud. I was sitting here watching that, and he said, you become the New York Yankees, and he hits him in the face, and I'm like, wow, after everything that has been said, that's what got you to punch him in the face? It's just silly.
No, that's kind of funny, yeah.
It caught me off guard, and it's literally the first note I have written down here. But you brought up Christian and Randy Orton in the co-main event, if you will, and what a treat. You're looking at Christian in one of those few and far between instances where he gets to go in there one-on-one with the stakes as high as they possibly can be. Christian famously, at that point in time, they said he was a 9-time tag champ and a 3-time Intercontinental champ. So obviously you saw where his attraction was. He was kind of saw as better as a tag team artist, and that might be right. But you had that going, and then you had what I think is just prime peak Randy Orton, just physically. The promos he was cutting, the way he was moving around the ring. This was before a couple of different injuries that he had. And this set up for a fantastic co-main event. Sometimes they call that the death spot in wrestling pay-per-views. It's the match before the main event, and it kind of can get boring, and the crowd kind of loses a little bit of interest. This might be time to go get some popcorn or refill your soda before the main event, but this certainly wasn't that. I'd be curious to hear what you had to say about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely am excited to get into that match as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right about that, though, because when you're put in that second to last match before the main event, usually that's viewed as the filler match and whatnot, which obviously this wasn't going to be that way because it's a world title match. But But yeah, to go on at that, but usually you like to have a little something in between.